Hello there, I'm here today with my 2012 Husqvarna, the LGT 24K54. I am replacing my steering shaft due to the fact that my lawnmower had a crap load of free play in the steering wheel, and not too long ago I had to replace both of my drag links. One actually just blew out of the socket, so I have essentially replaced everything on my front end. I've just had too many issues with the front end on this mower, and I'd also already replaced my front axle and new spindles, everything. It just was problematic, so I just figured I'm going to replace everything because it's annoying. So anyway, here's the original steering shaft. It does have some, moderate wear on it, nothing where it's chipped or anything like that, but it definitely had some play in it. I will say, when you order this component, you can look it up under the original part number, but I ordered my unit on eBay, and if you do that, you will get everything that you see that's original. This is the adapter for the steering wheel, the washer at the steering wheel, the nut at the steering wheel, the plastic sleeve that's behind the dash that guides the steering wheel close to the dash. This is the adapter at the plate closest to the steering gear, and a new washer. I will say this is the brochure that came with my kit, and I will say that this is for the YT models as well. There's a part number for a service kit. If you go to eBay, that's the number that I use that'll basically pull this kit up, and I'm going to walk you through some details as to what I did to remove it and what I did to reinstall it, and we'll start from the top and hopefully I won't forget anything. On the steering wheel, it's pretty straightforward. You have a nut here. What I did is took a pair of vice grips, put them on the steering shaft to hold it tight to break the nut loose. Once you do that, steering wheel comes off, the bushing, or the gear rather, whatever you want to call it, slides right off the shaft. Then down here at the base of this bracket, you have a cotter pin. You have to remove that. You got these two bolts here. I used a air tool to loosen those up and then backed them out by hand. I also recommend that you remove your deck, and then I used my big floor jack there, as you can see, to lift up the mower so I could pull the shaft not completely straight out, but it will come out fairly straight. I also went ahead and opted to replace my steering gear here, and it had some wear spots on it, and they're cheap enough. I figured I'm replacing everything because, like I said, I've had a lot of issues with my steering and/or front end. When you go to remove your drag links, if you choose to replace this plate, this is a 14mm nut. I will say on these nuts here, they come off counterclockwise. The nuts on the bottom side that you would need to hold this tight when you're removing that is a 13. It's the same size on the tool where the drag link connects to your steering knuckle on each side. The only difference is these nuts come off clockwise, and it's the same 13mm that'll hold this snug when you're going to break it loose with your ratchet. As far as the big bolt that holds the steering plate on there, that is a 19mm. I used a short 15/16 to hold this nut tight because it's in a really confined place to hold it tight with a long standard combination wrench, unless you think you can squeeze a 3/8 ratchet up in there. It's pretty tight though. So essentially what you need to do is, once you've removed everything, you'll come back up here, and on this particular piece of plastic here, let me grab the original. If you look at it, let me set it down here, there's a arrow on it which faces towards the front, and if you look at it, it's got a notch in it, and it only fits in here one way. So it's facing forward, You just go ahead and pop that in place. Then you'll slide your steering shaft with your new gear installed. The new gear, it slides onto the end and uses a piece of a hex style flat bolt that goes in the bottom of it to hold it tight. You'll slide that up some, and then you'll slide your new holding bracket down and your washer. You need a washer on there, and slide it up, go through the center up here at the top, and then come through to where it's up here at the steering wheel. Then once I've got this pulled up all the way, you obviously have to have the holes to put your cotter pin in, and I had left these bolts loose until I got the cotter pin installed, and then I just pulled it up to make sure it was snug, tighten those down. Come up to the steering wheel, put your new collar or gear piece on that the steering wheel actually sits on, put the steering wheel on it, brand new washer, brand new nut. And I would recommend when you go to break your steering wheel loose for the first time and on reinstallation, just use a pair of vice grips around the shaft to hold it tight when you go to break the nut loose for the first time or to reinstall it. I spent $26.50 on this kit. I had purchased my unit on eBay from Outdoor Power Deals. It was like $26.50, and I highly recommend them. They had a little error with my order and they quickly resolved it, and I received it super fast. So I recommend them as a possible location to purchase this kit, because it's a lot cheaper to buy this as a kit versus just buying the shaft, which this is the actual part number for the shaft itself. But as you can see here on the paperwork that comes with this, at least through the seller I purchased mine, it actually has the part numbers for each of these components separately. But hopefully this has been beneficial to you. If you have any questions, by all means ask. Now I just have to button up the rest of the simple stuff on this, and I can use my mower this week, since I didn't want to ruin the new parts I had on the mower until I had replaced the steering shaft, and that way hopefully everything will work soundly unlike it has before. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.